Hello, vinyl community. This is Rich at Embarrassment of Riches, and I am here and very happy to talk about some wonderful reissues that got delivered this month that I've been waiting for a very long time. I think that September 2020-25 is going to be a month that I remember most for these vinyl reissues because there are now reissues and remasters of three of my all-time favorite records. The really good thing is that all three of these records were ordered merely weeks ago. There weren't seriously long pre-orders that I ended up waiting a year to finally get delivered to my house. I got the notification that they were being released or were taking pre-orders, and they were delivered to my house a few weeks later. One of these records is a very long time coming because there were represses here and there that were very subpar, and whenever they were released, they were instantly snapped up and sold for twice the cost, and it just wasn't worth picking up at that price. I figured eventually they would do it right and you can get it at a decent price. The other two were premium high fidelity or MoFi reissue releases, which are going to have a couple extra bucks tacked on because of the treatment that the vinyl and the production gets. And I don't mind that as long as the record's good. One of these records was a long time coming and being done correctly. There had been sporadic re-releases over the last basically 30 or so years on vinyl that have been kind of spotty, and that refers to the production as well originally, but that's another conversation. They just were lackluster, and whenever they were released, they were snapped up very quickly, and immediately scalpers were trying to, turn them around for $100 when they should be $30 records at the most. The other two releases were premium. One's a Rhino Hi-Fi, which I've had a great experience with, the ones that I've purchased so far as long as they've been doing that series. And the other one this month is another all-timer, and it's a Mobile Fidelity release of a record that I never thought I would see get the MoFi treatment, but richly deserves it. Richly. Rich says it, so it is richly said. And this is done in no order of preference for the three records because, as I had said previously, they're all three among some of my all-time favorite records, and that's no exaggeration. And first up is the Rhino High Fidelity release. I think they limited it to 5,000 of Nevermind the Bollocks from the Sex Pistols, the 1977 punk rock classic. And this one will draw out a few vinyl purists and gatekeepers that will just never understand that some punk rock records do deserve a high fidelity treatment or a MoFi treatment, as I had shown previously a couple of months ago with my New York Dolls MoFi release that sounded so sweet. And if you're into mastering engineer worship, this one was done by Kevin Gray. I don't have one favorite mastering engineer over another or whoever cuts the lacquers, as long as it's done correctly, and I haven't received a bad high fidelity record yet, so just get the record done, man. I don't care if your grandma's doing it. And 5,000 is a pretty good number for this record. It is a classic, but punk rock, especially really old punk rock, is a niche market, and they'll probably sell out of these 5,000, and if Rhino's going to follow with things they've done before of this nature, they'll just release it again a couple of months later to retail stores in an unnumbered version, which will often drastically reduce the value of the numbered version, but I didn't buy this for a serial number on the back. I bought it for the music. So yeah, 5,000 to be had. They're probably pretty well gone by now. But this album is never in danger of being hard to find for sale. There are, at last count, I believe, 271 vinyl versions of this record that have been released since the original in 1977. Which probably goes a long way towards explaining why those 1977 originals are very affordable as far as original classic records can be had. You can buy a super minty original for about 75 bucks. That's eminently affordable for something that's that landmark important in music as far as I'm concerned. And this is the Sex Pistols' only studio album, and the great configuration of Johnny Rotten, Steve Jones, Glenn Matlock, and Paul Cook, before the inclusion of what's his name?
I called Sid Vicious, I think I called him Simon Ferocious or something, and he didn't like it at all. I said, what are you going to do about it?
But I was always amazed after years of not hearing this. I didn't get into punk rock until about the mid-90s. So this album was almost 20 years old by the time that I heard it, but I had always heard that it had a reputation for terrible playing and lackluster production. That never occurred to me. I originally bought this as a CD probably in 1993 or 1994, and it sounded pretty damn good then. And I own a couple originals that sound pretty good. They all, I think I went from VG to VG Plus to maybe excellent with the most recent one. I think it's in the best condition of all of them. I think they all sound pretty rad. I've heard a lot worse of early punk rock. There wasn't always really great production. And really my bar for enjoying art has always been, can they do what they're doing better than I can do it myself? And since I can neither sing, write songs, nor play an instrument, I find a lot of enjoyment in this. I don't believe there's any great guitar solos or drum riffs that are overlong in this. There's not one song that overstays its welcome. And we have been left to wonder if they could have survived that hurricane and maelstrom of what they were in that 1977-1978 period and kept that original lineup together, what music they could have brought us. I mean, we are grateful that Johnny Rotten, Johnny Lydon, did continue on with Public Image Limited, but they had lightning in a bottle here, and I really would have loved to have seen if they could have got one more album with that classic lineup without What's-His-Nuts barely playing bass. And I have already played this one a couple of times, and it does sound superb. Very highly recommended. This next one up here is the 50th anniversary release from Mobile Fidelity of my favorite Parliament record. Yep, released in 1975, Mothership Connection. My very first experience with Parliament Funkadelic is from this record many, many, many years ago in my youth. Many, many long years ago. I have a couple of the original pressings of this in the collection. I also have the 2007 reissue, not remaster, that was on red vinyl, which was pretty cool. It's always been a really good sounding album if you can find yourself a good copy. They didn't take any shortcuts in the studio when George Clinton and company were producing these records. I also have a beater copy that I bought a long time ago. That is the one my sons will know best because it is the one that they danced to with me when they were very, very little, just after learning how to walk. And I tried not to have them watch a lot of TV in those very early years, so we played a lot of music and hung out and had fun. They both remember this album very well, and I still have that one. I also, since it was a beater, used that one to show my sons how to drop a needle on a turntable and play a record. So that was one of the very formative memories of their lives. They both remember that very well. And I think they both still listen to this. And very generally, you're not going to see a VG Plus or better original for less than $50. I know everybody loves to shit their pampers over Maggot Brain, and it's a great album. I don't know if it's a fucking $300 record, but demand makes it so. I just think that one's an inferior record to this one. We all have a right to our opinions on this. So yeah, this has always been my go-to for Parliament, and it's not the best loved of that catalog like I had mentioned, but I also seem to like the also-rans very much in the P-Funk catalog because my favorite Funkadelic record is Uncle Jam Wants You, which I've shown, I keep on the wall, and I have a couple of copies in the collection, and that one is far more important to me than any of the other Funkadelic classics. There's a lot of 1A, 1B, 1C, 2A, like in top 5 of my P-Funk record collection, the ones that I most love. So yeah, take my recommendations with a grain of salt. In a perfect world, we could all have a copy of Maggot Brain and Mothership Connection. Hopefully at about this point I can insert some portion of the video where I show this MoFi release and an original and just the sheer size of the banding on the records, because on side A of the first record, the first song, P-Funk Wants to Get Funked Up, is maybe an inch around right after you drop the needle from the outside in, which I had said sounds pretty damn good on a clean version of that record. The MoFi version takes up the A side. I mean, it's a good chunk of music. I had never imagined that the song could sound that wide open, that clear, and have that much punch. This is a 2LP at 45 RPM, which I believe is the superior treatment of any record, be it classic or brand new. There's something about that sound. Shit. And I don't know how many of these are left, and I don't exactly know how limited it is. But if you like the funk at all, or if you wanted an entry point for P-Funk music, this is the one, and I would highly recommend spending the money on it. You shouldn't be disappointed. You will not be disappointed. Fuck if you're disappointed. And last up here, and I thank you for your patience for me babbling about these high-fidelity reissues. It's just been such a great month for it, and it really made me want to run and share all these and see who else in the community had picked these records up. Any of the three. I don't know if everybody else's tastes run the same kind of gamut that mine does, to where I will jump for the funk reissue and I will jump for the punk rock reissues. This one right here, though, released 5 years after the previously mentioned Nevermind the Bollocks in 1982. The Descendants' Milo Goes to College. And I had mentioned at the intro that this one has had a checkered past, with SST not being at all reliable on the reissue front, and just generally like not printing enough, and when they sell out, some prick is selling them for fucking $100 when it should be a lot cheaper than that. And you're not going to get an original copy, or even a second press for that matter, for anything less than a serious deal of money. I waited a long time thinking I would find a good copy of the original pressing for not a whole bankroll, but it's just not possible. This regularly runs over $300 for a playable good copy of the original. They're that rare. But there have been a few printings since, and yes, I love every single song on this album. Bill Stevenson is the most incredible drummer in all of punk rock, and I'll fucking fight you on that. Milo is one of the greatest frontmen in the history of music, and that one will get you a black eye as well if you feel any different. They apparently had to go to court. I listened to a full podcast on this, and they didn't say much because that's kind of what happens when you go to court. But they did return the rights to the masters, I believe, all of the masters, for Milo Goes to College to the band, and this has been reissued and remastered. It even says reclaimed here on the sticker. It is that momentous of an occasion for people who love punk rock. Absolutely mountaintop zenith punk rock here. And it seems that they're also on a mad reissue campaign of the entire catalog, because I woke up this morning to see a pre-order thing for the 1985 I Don't Want to Grow Up, which is a great album as well. But goddamn, dude, pump the brakes a bit. We got like an economy going on that's really not that fucking beautiful. But it's on gray marble. Hopefully I got a bit of footage of it playing. It sounds so sweet. It's so good. This one is not long enough to deserve that 2LP 45 at RPM treatment, because I don't think there's many 2-minute long songs on this one. But absolutely legendary. I'm so happy to have these records in my collection. I got to listen to all of them the last couple of days, and they will stay in rotation for a while. I picked up a extra copy of each for my youngest son to fill out his collection when he finally gets everything together with his system and has a place to sit down and listen to records, because he is just working and going to school full time and doesn't get a lot of time for that kind of enjoyment. Also released concurrently with that is a different variation with a different cover photograph, and it's in the vein of the Blue Note Jazz series. You can see how they took certain notes from that. And it's pretty funny. I think it's called Punk Note, and it's just a parody homage. I'm sure they're all jazz fans in some respect or another, but you get a blurb on the back, you get pictures of the upcoming releases, and an alternate photograph for the cover. I think that's pretty rad. So yeah, thanks again for sticking around. I got more to come. I went to the Pennsylvania Keystone Record Collectors Convention last week for the first time, I believe, this year. I absolutely have just not had the chance to go. And I picked up maybe 5 or 6 records that are interesting, and hopefully other people will find them interesting as well. And I still have also to record my September pickups video, which I just didn't want to include these reissues on because they needed their own special thing to talk about here. And that's what I'm doing. And I'm hoping everybody in the vinyl community is having a great end of summer. And fall is looking pretty good out here in Pennsylvania so far. It's raining today. It's about 65. Hard to complain when you come from Southern California, and it's still very hot this time of year. I will talk to you all pretty soon, and I hope everybody's good next time. Hello, vinyl community. This is Rich at Embarrassment of Riches, and I'm here to talk about some great reissues that were delivered to my house in this month of September. Fuck. And I'm here and I want to share and I want to talk and I want to do this and I want to do that, and oh my goodness. And I am here today to talk about some great shit fucking fuck. I believe I'm always going to fondly remember September, the fuck. The best month for reissues that I can, ugh. Community. Ugh. Sorry. Never mind the, oh, fuck, man, talk about babbling.